This is an Ideus pour-over coffee maker and insulated double wall carafe. Claims to keep coffee hot for 6 hours, cold things cold for 12 hours. So I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, it would cost you about $45. They haven't paid me for this video, and my opinions remain my own. Okay, so we have this little guy here, which is the black color. I believe that you can also get it in white and maybe silver. And it has this lid here that goes on top, and it has this thing here that pops off the top, and there's this round area up there. Now, notably, it did not come with any instruction sheet, but there is an awful lot of warnings and writings on this thing wrapped around it. So I think I'm going to have to pull this off and read it with maybe a magnifying glass, because some of them are kind of small, to figure out everything I need to know. There is this little filtering thing there. There is also the pour-over coffee thing that will accept a kind of triangular shaped conical filter. And then there's this guy here itself. And I don't know if this has a, it doesn't look like it will lock in place. It looks like it just kind of sets on top. So I'm not quite sure what this is for. Potentially it's a place to rest something else, maybe this guy. We'll see if I can read some instructions anywhere and figure out all of these parts. Okay, I was able to get that thing off of the flask. There's no real instructions here. It has just care instructions. So it's dishwasher safe, wash before initial use, do not place in freezer. After use, wash lid in warm soapy water, don't use bleach. For thorough cleaning, remove gaskets from lid, clean and dry before reinstalling. Now, I could not find any gaskets in the lid here, so that might be leftover text from a different product, because as far as I can tell, this is just a plastic to plastic finish. There's no rubber gaskets that I can find. So, no instructions on how to use, although this card did say that the vacuum insulated system has a copper coating, and copper is very resistant to, or I should say it reflects infrared light, and so it prevents heat from moving across as infrared light. So it sounds like the vacuum insulated copper coated thermos mug here is definitely meaning business. So it sounds like it should keep drinks cold or hot for quite a while. Now, the lid goes on fine. It doesn't screw on or snap on, so if you drop this over, the lid's coming off and everything's coming out. Now, it has a wide base, and I don't think it's going to be easy to knock over, but it's not a travel carafe. This is something you use in a house or someplace office, but not, moving around between places. So I think this is for making tea. That's the only thing I can come up with, is steeping tea leaves or whatever else. You put in there, you pour the hot water in, it will steep. You can pull it out. It has this little thing here. The only thing I can come up with is that's a place for you take this out and you put it here so it doesn't drip on your counter. That's, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the only thing I can come up with. Now, potentially, it looks like you could take this off, turn it upside down, do the same thing there, and then put this guy on here, go clean this up, and put this somewhere and decide, oh, I'm going to put this back on here. So I think this opening is either to rest that there or to rest that there. And then, of course, making coffee, pour over coffee, you will have to provide your own conical filter. You put the filter in, you put the coffee in, you pour boiling water over the top. As long as you're pouring less than 20 ounces, it should hopefully not overflow. When you're done, you lift this guy up. Now, this guy won't really fit on top of that guy. It might sort of. You could set it down there, but it wants to kind of slide, and I think if there was coffee grounds and heavy coffee grounds, I think it'd just slide off. So I don't think this is going to rest on there. So I guess we should evaluate some of their claims, make sure it's actually holding 20 ounces of liquid. and then see how long that vacuum thermos insulation actually works. All right, so I filled this guy up with water right up to the brim, right to the edge of the metal there. You wouldn't want it any higher than that. You could get it a little bit higher coming up into the plastic, but then you're not really in that vacuum insulated area. So let's see what that is. So here's the 16, that's the 24. It is just a hairbreadth under the 20 ounce. So I'm going to say, yes, you could put 20 ounces of liquid in here. It would come up really high into the plastic. If you want to be down inside the vacuum insulated area, it's going to be a little less. As a matter of fact, personally, I don't think I'd want to fill this up more than about there, because I'm avoiding the places where the vacuum insulated things are connected together. I think maybe I could get another ounce in there. Let me just pour just a little bit more in. So that's the amount that I'd want to have in there. Now, if you're making 20 ounces of coffee and then you immediately pour 6 or 8 ounces into a mug, it would be fine, because you get 20 ounces in here, you pour it down, and the rest of the coffee that needs to stay hot is well below the connection point of the vacuum thermos area. So it might be fine to brew 20 ounces as long as you're pouring off 6 or 8, and then the rest of it stays well down in the vacuum area. But just if you're just filling it up with boiling water and you want it to stay hot, this is about how much liquid I'd put in there. So leaving a comfortable margin for the vacuum thermos to work, getting exactly 2 cups here, which would be pretty much exactly 16 ounces. So you can fit 20 ounces of liquid into it. I think it really only vacuum insulates the bottom 16 ounces really well. And then anything above that is kind of getting into the area where the 2 walls are combined, or where there's this plastic at the top that's not quite as vacuum insulated. All right, I'm going to pour about 16 ounces of pretty darn hot boiling water into this guy. I'm basically filling it up to almost the top of the metal vacuum thermos area, but I'm not coming up into the black plastic. So it's about 16, maybe 17 ounces. And it's 4:53 p.m. We are going to take a temperature measurement here. So above 200 degrees Fahrenheit, you know, I'm getting, say, 204 degrees Fahrenheit here. So definitely hot. We're going to put this lid on. We're going to sit it there for 6 hours. Now, while that guy is sitting there for 6 hours, I want to talk about the pour-over container. Perfectly fine. You put a cone coffee filter in, you put coffee in, you pour hot water over, great. The problem I see is you're not fitting 16 or 20 ounces of hot water in this thing. You have to pour some in and then wait a while, and pour more in and wait a while, and pour more in and wait a while, and you can't pour more than 20 ounces in or it'll start overflowing. And there's no easy way to tell if you're about to start overflowing, because when this guy's in there, it pretty much covers it. So a lot of pour-over coffee makers I've seen have something on top that you pour in a certain amount of water and then it dribbles through. This one does not have something on top that you put water in and dribbles down, so you have to kind of brew the exact amount of water that's going to fit in there and use it, and you might have to come back every couple of minutes to top this guy up. So it seems like if they made the box a little bigger, they could have added that attachment to the top. It feels like this is a little bit of an afterthought to the vacuum insulated carafe here. You know, carafe, great by itself. Obviously, you can put this thing on top of it and pour water in and brew directly in there, but it doesn't seem like it's super well thought out because of the fact that you're going to have to just keep pouring water in here and there. Now, if you have one of these from something else, it's a standard size, and so it fits in there just fine. So you could certainly use some other component to pour the water in. So the tea strainer feels like it's well thought out. You fill your tea in there, you drop it in, you can put this guy back on top if you want. If you need a place to drain the tea strainer, you can, pull it out of the water, drip a little bit off, put it in the base. It'll kind of, sit in the base and not drip elsewhere. You can put this guy back on when you go and, pick this guy up and wash it and then get, clean it up and so forth. So the tea straining part of this everything kind of works together. I mean, you know, you can pour coffee in there, it'll work, but I don't like the fact that you have to come back and pour more water in and pour more water and pour more water in. Maybe that's part of the pour over coffee making experience for some people. All right, it is 7:50, basically 3 hours after I poured the hot water into here. There's definitely condensation on the lid, and we are at 160 Fahrenheit, so I'd call that still pretty hot after 3 hours. All right, it's been 3 hours since I poured the hot water into the vacuum insulated flask here, and not much heat's escaping out the bottom. You know, the vacuum insulation part's working fine. Now, the top of this guy is where all the heat's coming out. You know, that's 94 Fahrenheit. Ambient is cooler than that, you know, maybe 70 degrees in the house, maybe 66 in certain parts of the house. So, you know, it's definitely warmer than ambient. I can feel some warmth coming out. It feels like most of the warmth is escaping this crack between the top lid and the bottom. Now, there is kind of this center hole thing in the top lid, and so in there, it's pretty warm as well. So, you know, there's some heat getting to this point, but this double lid thing is kind of hiding that heat inside, or keeping that heat inside there. So it does leak heat, obviously, but it seems like the vacuum insulated part at the bottom is doing a pretty good job. It's really just this top plastic bit is where the heat comes out. All right, it's 9:51, so about 5 hours after I put boiling hot water in here. And it is still 142 Fahrenheit, which is, you know, somewhere between very warm and hot. Alright, it is 10:54, and the temperature in here is 135 Fahrenheit. So, keeps it hot for 6 hours. It definitely is keeping it very warm. Don't know if it's full on hot, but reasonable performance for a vacuum thermos type thing that doesn't have like a serious screw arm lid. I mean, this lid has kind of a cover for the nozzle there, and then when you want to pour, you turn it around like that, and you put your thumb over this thing, and then you can pour out of it. So reasonable thermos performance. I'll leave it overnight, but I suspect it's going to be getting close to ambient by the time I get up tomorrow. Okay, 8 a.m. in the morning, we're at 99 degrees Fahrenheit. It starts and stops pouring relatively controllably. Although as you get lower and lower, you have to tilt it over a large amount to get it started. This little guy to hold your thumb on is pretty nice, otherwise it would fall off. My goal here is to make 16 ounces of coffee. This guy is kind of at 3 3/4 cups, so I want to get down to kind of 1 3/4 cups to get 16 ounces in there. So filling that up, I'm down to 3 cups, so I have about 3/4 cups of water in there. And I have a little extra room now. About 2 3/4 now. I might have gone a little small. That might be below 1 1/4. It's not coming out yet, so I think we're doing okay. Oh yeah, I think I underestimated how much water I put in there. It doesn't look like it's 16 ounces. It looks closer to 12 maybe. Maybe some of the water's stuck in the coffee grounds. Alright, so you don't need the lid on it to pour. Alright, so I put all these pieces through the dishwasher. I haven't seen any damage to them. They look like they're dishwasher safe. There is this. So water from the dishwasher has gotten in between the plastic shell and the stainless steel thermos vessel. But there's definitely water trapped in there, and it's coming out of this gap at the bottom. So it doesn't appear that the water is hurting anything necessarily, and it makes it weigh a little more, and it, makes squishy noises when you, or splashy noises when you shake it. So not impressed by the water getting stuck inside of the bottom of the plastic. That being said, it seems to do a pretty good job as a thermos, if you need 16 to 20 ounces of thermos. I think the tea making, this little tea thing that drops down there for tea leaves, that's really well thought out, design works well. They have this guy here so you can, drip it in there if you want to drip it somewhere. Works great. Pour over coffee maker, it snaps in pretty nicely. It pours coffee just fine. Only downside is you need to pour in 16 to 20 ounces of coffee, and this doesn't hold that all at once, so you have to, pour multiple times. I would like if this top would somehow, twist or latch on. They have it so it goes two ways. This way it kind of covers that, and then this way you hold this and pour. I would kind of like to have something where you set it down and clicked it in place, or set it down and clicked it in place, and if you had it clicked in place this way, you could have it fall over and it wouldn't spill, as opposed to now it would spill. So those are improvements I would like to see in this product. So given what you're getting, I feel the asking price is currently a little high. My price point for this product, if I walked into a store and was buying it, I think it should cost about $25.